Good morning, kids. This is Grandma Freeman, and I did a sample of a French seam, and I mentioned in my last video that I might do a French seam, but I tried it and I didn't care for it with this cotton fabric. It's very good for very lightweight fabric that may fray easily. So if you want to get a screenshot, this is the French seam right here. So, okay, did you get a screenshot? Okay, this is how you do it. You fold on your edge, on your seam, you put wrong sides together and you sew a 3/8 inch seam. And then you turn it, and then you trim it to 1/8, the seam allowance, and that will be on the right side of the fabric. And then you turn it right sides together, and then you sew a 1/4 inch seam on the wrong side. And I did that, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. But you see how that lifts right there? That's not going to work on this cotton fabric. It's going to pucker on the right side. Just, you can see it's kind of raised on this right side. But it does make a perfect seam. But instead of making the French seam, I saw this one, and this is called the self-bound seam. If you'd like to get a screenshot, go ahead. I'm trying to hold it steady with my finger on the ironing board. Okay, did you get that screenshot? And this is how it looks like. You put right sides together and you sew a 5/8 seam all the way down, and when you get that done, you trim one side of your fabric, and then as you can see at the bottom here, you trimmed 1 to 1/8, and then you press the other side to 1/8, and this is what it looks like. That dark line is the seam, and that's about a 2.5 or a 2-inch seam there. And then one side is trimmed to approximately 1/8, and the other side, it looks bigger from here, but believe me, it's not very big. And the other side is pressed to a 1/8. So, and then you turn it over like this. So it's folded kind of like, see, there's more room on that side, but it's folded over so that when you go to sew it, when you sew that seam, you're going to try to get it as close to the original seam that was sewn on the wrong side as you can. So you're doing two seams and you're trying to get it as close. Now that's going to give you a very smaller seam there. It could stick when you stick it up. It would stick up, but if you press it. Well, this one I'm pressing towards the back side. Well, I've already done one over here, and I stitched it together, and I'll show you this one. Okay, so when I folded it over, that was the original seam right there. I tried to sew. See there, I tried to sew it right on, or as close as I could to that original seam line. So, and it didn't work quite the way I expected, but it's okay, because when you turn it over and press it, it gives you a much flatter seam. See, and the threads do kind of show up here and there, and I wanted to sew that, and it did in some areas. Seems like it's almost right next to that, or right on the first seam, but it's not quite. But at a distance, it doesn't show. That doesn't show because of the dark pansies. And that's the side seams of the bodice of this dress that I'm making. Again, I'm making this dress with long sleeves. I made that dress many years ago, and I liked it very much. It's just that shirtwaist type of dress. But this one does not have the full skirt, and I did lengthen the hemline. And I think it would look very nice with long sleeves for me. I'm a senior. And but that's the way, and it does have a flatter appearance there. Nothing's puckering, and that's what I wanted. So, but the French seam does look very good from the front because the seam is hiding the raw edges. So this was probably good. I did a finger pressing on it, so maybe if I had done the iron pressing, it might lay flatter. But anyhow, there's different seams. There's, see how you do a 3/8 inch seam on the right side. So you're sewing on the right side of your fabric, and then you trim it to 1/8. So it's when you fold it over to the wrong side, and then you do a 1/4 seam on the French seam. And it did on this one, it measures just about, it's maybe a little bit larger, but it's just about right there. So it's just about right. But this is just an example. So this is what matters over here. So I still have to sew that other side, and I better get to it. Anyway, these are the side seams of the bodice, and this is my first time I've ever sewn the self-bound seam. And then there's also I thought about this one. This is the mock French seam, and it's a little bit different. Both of the edges of this one are pressed. So, and then you sew it on the seam. You're sewing the seams together, one pressed edge over the other. And that I may try. So I like that one. I probably should have done that one. And then this one over here is the flat felled seam. Felt. Let me see. The flat felt seam. No, it's the flat felled seam. And this one, if you want to get a screenshot, I'll hold this still as I can. This one I've done over and over. It's perfect for children's clothing because it gives you a double stitch, and you're sewing one seam and then you're sewing another seam, and both seams will show on, I guess the first seam, it's kind of like, it's there and it will show. The second one will show on both sides of the fabric, but it gives you a very strong seam, and it's good for children's clothes and even sporting clothes, I think. And like jeans always have that flat felled seam. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I kind of muddled through it because I've never done the French seam before, but I've read the directions, and I do like it very much. But this is the one I did, and it lays nice and flat, and you're not going to see those that second stitch as well. It just won't show up on this fabric. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye now.